everyone, it's Lauren from Speak from the Heart. Thank you so much for tuning in to video number 2, which is also part 2 of So You Want to Be an SLP, where I will be giving you tips, my own personal tips, to improve and enhance your journey of becoming a speech-language pathologist. So again, these are all tips that I used. I feel like they will help you just kind of bask in your journey and appreciate your journey to having that MS or MA CCC-SLP behind your name when you sign your notes. So let's jump right in. Again, this is part 2. I'm going to be giving you tips that will help you in your graduate school years versus part 1 was more so for your undergraduate years. So bear with me. I have my notes written down so I don't forget anything. As always, subscribe to my channel, like this video, tell your friends about it, and let's jump right in. So tip 1, very similar to a tip that I gave in part 1, and that's doing well in your classes. So you're in graduate school now. Your course load is going to be more difficult. You'll probably have more projects and especially more projects actually putting the material to use. So still, do really well in your classes, go to office hours if you need to, form study groups with other people in your cohort, anything that will help you to just do your best. So you're going to be learning more about, again, the application of all this information you probably have heard of, so that way you become a better clinician. So that kind of brings me to point number 2, or tip number 2, which is saving all of your notes. So I literally saved every note that I took in graduate school, and I have this purple file folder where I organized. I took a day, I remember this day so clearly. After I graduated, I organized every single PowerPoint presentation I printed off, every project, every paper, every handwritten note, every note card, and I organized it by class. So I have an audiology folder, I have a voice disorders folder, and also more specifically, so like a definition of all voice disorders, or treatment techniques for aphasia. So everything is literally separated and organized very well, I might add. So I would definitely suggest doing that. And to make it easier for you, when you finish a class in graduate school, go ahead and make a folder for that class. So that way, when you're graduating or after you graduated, it's not such a tiresome task to kind of compile all your notes, because it took me literally like 3 days. So start doing that. It's really going to help as you transition as a therapist, because the thing about speech therapy is that there's so much. We do so much, and it's impossible to remember every single technique for every disorder. So make it easy for yourself and save your notes and save your PowerPoints and all of that, so that way it's easy for you to just kind of grab and go and reference as you need to. So tip number 3, and I'm trying to go through this quickly because I know I don't like watching 15-minute YouTube videos, so I'm assuming you don't either. So tip number 3, and I love this one. This is probably one of my favorite tips, because this is something that I did, and I promise you this has helped me to become a really good speech-language pathologist. So value your journey as a clinician. Okay, just let that sink in. Oh gosh, it just sounds so good. So value your journey as a clinician. And what do I mean by that? So when you start graduate school, depending on the way your program is set up, you may start out seeing clients your first semester, or it may take you a couple semesters to start seeing clients. So really be mindful of the way you do therapy in your first couple of semesters. Really take criticism from your supervisors. Take that and really acknowledge it. Take it so that it helps you to grow as a therapist. So I remember my first couple of therapy sessions were train wrecks, okay? I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't know, I knew what I was doing because I had the book smarts, but putting it to use with my client, my first client was a pediatric client. It was very difficult because I had all of these cool toys and games lined up, and my client came in and was like, no, I don't want to play bingo today. So going from this rigid therapist where I had all this book knowledge, but I just was like, I don't know how to apply it, to where I am now, where I can have a child come in, or even an adult come in and say, I don't want to do that today. but I know their goals, and I'm able to switch it up like that. And it took a while to get to that point, but when I look at my journey, I'm like, wow, I really grew as a therapist. So really keep track. And I still have some of my feedback notes from my supervisors. Keep track of that so you can really track your progress and appreciate your progress and growth as a speech-language pathologist. Again, I feel like that really helped me, so I think that would be helpful for you as well. So tip number 4, and this is kind of getting towards your last year of graduate school. Just like with the GRE and undergrad, you want to start studying for the praxis and your comprehensive examination early. So I purchased the praxis examination practice book from ASHA in probably November of 2015. I took the praxis in March of 2016. So that gave me plenty of time to literally go through the book from the first page to the last page. I took every practice test, and I downloaded a couple of study guides from offline. Teachers Pay Teachers, there's a speech therapist up there that made a very comprehensive study guide. I can't think of her name, but I will link it below. That was really helpful, and it was only like $5. But I went through each section because there were some areas of the praxis that were, easier than others. Like speech and hearing science is not my strong area at all. So I took time to really review the areas that I felt like, I could, definitely use some more practice with this specific topic. The areas that I felt strong in or stronger, and I definitely still review those, but I wanted to dedicate, more of my time to those areas that were a little bit more difficult for me. I ended up passing the praxis on the first try, which I feel is very attainable. It's multiple choice, much easier than the GRE because it's all speech related. But definitely still study, take your time when you go in there, and take it early enough so that way you have your score. Again, if you need to retake it, you have time to retake it. And the same thing with a comprehensive exam. Schools, different schools do it differently. My alma mater, we had to write pretty much like paragraph length responses to a variety of questions. We just didn't know which questions we would get the day of. So we had to study probably about 6 or 7 responses, but I started early. So as soon as I knew the question choices or the questions that could be on the comprehensive exam, I started studying. I started to write them out. I recorded myself saying them, and I listened to them when I was at the gym or in the car. I mean, I had to just get them ingrained in my mind. So again, I would definitely recommend that you do that. Study early, study hard, study diligently, so that way you can pass them and then you can apply for your state licensure. So again, study early for the praxis. I would definitely recommend getting the praxis study book from ASHA. I can link that below as well. For your comprehensive exam, however your school does it, make sure you study early. Again, ask questions. One thing I liked about the way my school did comps is that we could contact the professor that was over that question and say, does this sound okay? Do I need to take something out or add something in? So it was really helpful, and I really appreciated that. And going forward with my last tip, and again, this is not my last tip, but my last tip for this video is start looking for jobs early. I actually received a job offer in March. I didn't graduate until May. I didn't have my license yet, but I figured, why not start looking early, because, there are two schools in my area with a speech program, and we all graduate around the same time. So I wanted to get a jump start on, my job after graduation. I was one of those people where I wanted to graduate, take a week off, and immediately start working. I didn't want a break. But you may. But if you're like me, I would say start looking about 2 to 3 months in advance. See what's out there and reach out and explain, I'll be graduating in a couple months. I'll be starting my clinical fellowship year, which we will probably do a video on that, my experience as a CF. And just explain to them maybe you can come in, tour the facility, talk to the other therapists, express your interest. I did that for a couple of companies and ended up getting interviews pretty quickly, and I accepted my first job in March. So again, they waited for me. They kept my position open. As soon as I got my license and went through orientation, I was cleared to start about 2 weeks after I graduated, which was not a long wait at all. I had to celebrate. I went to Puerto Rico after I graduated, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to work. So these are just 5 very basic general tips, but for me, they really helped me to, again, grow and evolve as a therapist. Obviously, there are so many more tips that I could share with you, but for the purpose of this video and keeping it as short as possible, those are just going to be the ones that I give you. So if you have any questions or any other tips that you can offer if you're a speech language pathologist, or if you have questions or want additional tips if you're an SLP to be, please feel free to comment below, send me a message. Let's talk, let's chat, let's help each other out, because speech language pathology is such a great field, and I just want more of us to be exposed to it and to do great, so that we can have this big group of speech language pathologists just taking over the world. So again, subscribe to my channel if you like this video, give it a thumbs up,